Hi, Mischa. Thank you for coming to ECO6G. So, who is Mischa Dohler?
Who is Mischa Dohler? I'm now Vice President of Emerging Technologies at Ericsson Inc. in Silicon Valley, dealing with a wide set of really interesting technologies such as quantum, AI, blockchain, 5G, 6G, AR, and VR.
So, talking about 6G, why do we need a new generation of mobile communication networks?
Look, each generation addresses a business need. Okay, we don't do it for the technology's sake, business needs. So in 5G we had, more data rate, we had sensors, we had time-critical comms. We did that pretty well. 6G will add on new business needs. It's going to be about intelligence. It's going to be about platform thinking, and possibly some other kind of business needs, which we will see in the future.
Mm-hmm. Some people say that we will also talk about sustainability. Do you think there is a connection between sustainability and 6G?
There should be. In fact, even in 5G, we did already a pretty good job. If you look at, the amount of energy we spend per bit, we're pretty good. But the amount of bits we fire through the pipes is just so gigantic that we still consume a lot of energy. What we need to do in 6G is, I always say, zero energy devices. Mm-hmm. So sensors which don't actually have batteries, maybe even mobile phones, which will be zero energy, and carbon neutral networks. And that's not really obvious to do, because if you start charging your base stations with renewable energy, you may need to change architectures and protocols. So a lot of work needs to be done in 6G.
Absolutely, makes a lot of sense. You say this is something we didn't do with 5G. What else can we learn from 5G? What did we do right? What did we do wrong?
Look, what we did really well in 5G in the previous generations is to come together as an ecosystem. I mean, today, you can buy your phone here in Barcelona, the SIM card in Germany, and you can be traveling in South America, and you call your friend in Australia, and it works. It really works. It's kudos to the system. The one thing I think we really need to pay attention to in 6G is to get the business model right. We haven't really paid attention to this, and I think the operators struggle now to really essentially their investment for the 5G infrastructure. Get that right up front in 6G, and it's going to be a success.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I totally agree. You talk about businesses, but also businesses behind or after, whatever you want to name it, use cases. So for the user, from the user's perspective, what is going to be new for the user? What new services, what new use cases are we going to see with 6G?
That's an interesting question. So yeah, we're doing a bit of crystal gazing here. We often don't know what the future holds. Remember, we started designing 4G before the iPhone came along. So we have ideas, and we think we're going to build a truly immersive internet. So therefore, we think we need to really gear up 6G to cater for that, meaning joint sensing and comms is fantastic, because a truly immersive internet needs to understand what's the spatial situation around us when we communicate. There's a unique opportunity there. We also understand there's going to be, complexity is just going to go through the roof. So we need more AI in the system, platform thinking. So there will be some really interesting use cases out there, all going towards that, new internet, which I believe is that, completely immersive three-dimensional internet.
Yeah, very interesting that you mentioned artificial intelligence, because now everyone is talking about ChatGPT, Midjourney, all this super cool stuff that I believe is going to change the world. What is the connection between artificial intelligence and 6G?
I live now in Silicon Valley, and XR was the hot topic in metaverse until, ChatGPT came along. So we have used AI ever since release 2008 in the telco system, because we understood it's very complicated. We used it initially to automate tasks. Later we used it to self-organize networks, so we have it easier to configure the parameters. And I think, the large language model specifically will play a huge role in what we call self-synthesizing, self-designing networks. Whether that will already be part of 6G, I don't know. Whether it may fall into 7G, I don't want to do predictions here. But the ability to use AI to co-create the actual protocols, and to co-create the architectures, even co-create the standards document writing, and maybe even the creation of intellectual property. I think this is a very exciting avenue for the future.
Absolutely. Everything you're telling sounds very complex. And are the same players going to be in the ecosystem, or do you foresee that the 6G ecosystem is going to change and evolve to manage all this complexity?
It will evolve, so we still need the core players. It's still a connectivity proposition, so we need the supply chain, we need all the vendors there, such as Ericsson and everybody. We need the telco ecosystem, the operators. But remember that for a internet to succeed, for technology to succeed, you really need three things always together. It's the networks, it's the devices, and the applications. All three need really to come together. And therefore, I see that from a networking point of view, same players, but then the overall architecture require more cloud players. We will require new AI players. We may even start standardizing AI. Nobody has talked about this yet, but I think it will need to be done at some point. We will need to design entirely new applications which work for this fully immersive internet. So these type of players will come in and hopefully be able to contribute meaningfully towards the design of 6G.
Sounds very challenging what you're describing. And when do you see this converging? So when are we going to see 6G out there in the streets? When are everything we're talking about, when is this going to stop being just talking and actually becoming a reality?
Look, the generations is often just for consumers, for people in the streets. We as engineers, we tick differently. As you know, we work in releases and 3GPP releases. So the work will start in earnest with release 20, which is probably around 24, 25. We will start working it from an engineering proposition. And then assuming that the business case is in place and everybody is still very excited about 6G, we will probably have it in the streets by 2030, end of this decade.
But in any case, we're not talking about a massive deployment, right? So we will start seeing the first initial deployments by 2030 and maybe later.
Yeah, probably a bit like 5G and 4G. So we will have the lead operators deploying things, and hopefully we would have immediately a 6G standalone. That's the one thing we learned from 5G. It would have been nicer just to have 5G standalone. So probably by 2030, you're right, it's going to be a slow take up, and then later in that decade really take off, hopefully.
I'm looking forward to seeing this amazing future. And just to close, about the future, so what futuristic use case or application you think that 6G will enable?
So I'm very excited about one use case, and Ericsson actually has worked on this quite a bit. It's that future of a holographic society. So essentially you can spend time together without actually being physically together. So we need, of course, 6G to be in place, low latency, high bandwidth, generative AI everywhere, but also new holographic projections, new devices to actually consume that. So the ability to do that is just, I find it so compelling. I had it with my daughter when we did this world's first 5G piano concert.
I remember that.
Noah was singing in London, I was playing the piano in Berlin, and that emotional bond we build over 1,000 kilometers, is something which is really worth gold, and I hope in 6G we can really introduce that into society.
I hope so too. Mischa, it has been a pleasure having you here today. Thank you very much for your vision, for your insights, and thank you.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.